a lot of what you're going to come up with as a trader and your sort of take on something is going to happen when you get your hands dirty and you start looking around. And I think that's kind of...
Two traders, Darren and Walter, pull back the curtain on profitable trading systems, consistent money management, and profitable psychological triggers. Welcome to the Two Traders Podcast.
Welcome to the Two Traders Podcast. Walter here, and we've got Darren on the line. And Darren, today we've got a series of questions that have come in from listeners, and I thought that what we would do is take time today to go ahead and tackle each of these four questions. So how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I like the questions and comments from the listeners.
Excellent. So the first one that I have here is, I need to take time to practice before jumping in right away with real money. So this is this trader's issue, is that he or she is essentially feeling like he or she doesn't have the right background in the trading system before jumping in and trading real money, and it doesn't sound like it's going well. So what would you say to this, Darren?
Yeah, I think it sounds to me like that person's perhaps wants it too much, which is something I'm kind of aware of with traders. Usually, if you've kind of got to the end of your tether with your particular life setup at the moment, or, there's kind of things you feel you need to achieve, it's kind of difficult to take your time with that, especially when on paper trading looks like such a quick, easy way to make those changes. So I get it quite a lot with traders who want to know specifically how much money they're going to make, and I think basically they're starting to focus a bit too much on the end result and the money rather than the process. Because if you think about it rationally, if you're going to start any sort of business, the people who tend to be successful in that have done a lot of background work first, and really delved into their business plan and looked at all of the pros and cons before they'll invest any money in a business. And I suppose you could think about it, if you were going to make an investment with your money, the people who make in the best investments will take plenty of time and look at all of the details really carefully before they went into an investment. Like buying, imagine if you're buying a property, you're a bit foolish really just to sort of go walk into a flat and it's the first one you like and just okay, I'll buy it without really doing any research. So that's what it sounds like to me, and it's a really bad frame of mind to get into, because when things don't work out the way you're expecting is likely when you're going to make a mistake. And if your money's already on the line there, then it can spiral out of control fairly quickly.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you've nailed it when you say the reasons why we get into trading, we're sort of attracted by the lifestyle and perhaps the money, or I think it really comes down to freedom. But the point is, you want to get out of your job, you want to be able to work from wherever, which you do quite well, I should add, right?
It's going okay so far.
Yeah, so far, yeah. I mean, you're able to get away and stuff like that. You're always every time I talk to you, you're like, I'm going to here, I'm going to there, whatever. So yeah, and I like to break it up too. But the point is, it's really like any other job, and I think you kind of nailed it, Darren. What I think people miss when they first get in trading is they look at the reward and they forget to look at the risk side, which is really why you get paid as a trader. You get paid to take risk, and you take risks that other people won't take. And that's essentially what the job is, to be in a market that a lot of people don't want to be in, or to be in a market when a lot of people don't want to be in that market at this particular time. The traders, they add liquidity to the market. They essentially create markets that are easy to get in and out of because so many people are participating in them, and those are usually traders. They're usually not people that are hedging or investing or whatever. They're usually people that are getting in and out. It's some sort of time frame. So that's kind of what we get paid for, and we kind of, in the beginning, we don't have that in our minds. So what I would suggest that this trader does, I'm a big fan of back testing, and most people know I say, look, try to see if you can make it work in Forex Tester first, then try and get a little mini account, see if it works in the little mini account, and you can ramp or a demo account and then a mini account and then ramp it up to a standard account if you can. You don't have to go from this looks like a good idea, scroll back on the chart a few times, yeah, it looks good, to trading live money. So I would really encourage people to become proficient at the trading system and approach this like a job. What's your risk going to be? What are the chances that you're going to blow up your account if you trade this trading system with this amount of risk per trade? What's the likelihood that you're having a drawdown of X percent? Like, all of these things are things that people who approach trading as a job, they look at these, and people who sort of just jump into it because it's a get rich quick. And this isn't to call anyone out, because we all sort of start out this way. It looks so easy, or it looks so tantalizing, and really, the deeper you get into this, the more you learn that it's really about self-discovery. It's about learning about yourself, and it's really a job like any other. So I would encourage this trader to definitely set goals with your practice. It sounds like you're doing some sort of practice. Maybe it's with a demo account. Maybe it's with Forex Tester 2 or something else. I don't know. But it sounds like you need to spend time practicing and try to go towards a goal. Double your account or triple your account is the one I like to say. Try and get enough trades to triple your account. That's going to probably mean a lot of time spending, in Forex Tester or whatever you're using to get to that point and build up your confidence. Then move to a demo account, then move to a teeny tiny account, and then move to a live account, so that you've kind of graduated at each level. That would be my suggestion. I know people have heard me say it before, but I think the goal is to get to that point where you have so much confidence in what you're doing and you have a sense of what's likely to happen. What sort of drawdown are you going to have? What sort of, and all these things you can calculate. It doesn't mean that they're going to unfold exactly that way, because something like a black swan could happen. Your broker could go bust, or the market could gap 1,000 pips. All kinds of things could happen that aren't going to really be reflected in your statistics. But the point is, it sounds like you need to get confidence, and the best path I know to getting confidence is to just practice. So set some goals and graduate up to a live account. So that would be my suggestion for that one.
Yeah, I agree, Walter. It's a time thing. I think a good indication of when you've given it enough time is when you don't really have any more questions about the trading strategy and certain scenarios. I think then you've kind of got into that groove where you're comfortable, and you accept the expectations of what your trading strategy is going to bring, and also your own personal the way you kind of interact with that trading strategy.
Yeah, so I think you bring up a good point here when you say you get to that point where there aren't any more questions. I think that's a great point. I think the other side of that is something that I've when I work with traders, I talk about this idea of making it boring and getting to that point where, I guess it's really what you're saying. It's just the other side of the coin, where you're at that point where there isn't really much that's going to throw you for a loop. You're kind of at that point where, I'll do this now, and it's almost like you feel like you have an answer for everything. You might not really have an answer for everything, but you feel like you do, and it's fairly boring executing the system, and it's to the point where, and I think you want to get to this point where it's no longer exciting. Because to me, if it's really exciting when you're placing a trade, then that's no different than placing your money on a bet on the roulette wheel. You don't know what's going to happen. The reason why it's so exciting to bet on a horse or a number on the roulette wheel or whatever it is because you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea what's going to happen. And although we don't know what's going to happen on any individual trade, we should have a pretty good sense of what's going to happen over the long haul, like the casino does. So that would be my suggestion, is get to that point where it's boring, get to that point where you feel like you have an answer, you don't really have any more questions about the system. I think that's a great point, Darren. So yeah, I agree with that. That sounds like, really, it almost sounds like in the question, I need to take time to practice before jumping right in with real money. It almost sounds like this trader knows that the deal here is that he or she is not taking that time to practice. It's almost like the answer is built into the question. But I guess one way to refocus here would just be to set yourself out to accomplish a goal. Try and get to that point where you can make X percent on your Forex Tester account before you move up to the next and the next and the next. That would be my suggestion. If you want to sort of refocus on the goal of getting to a certain place with your practice testing rather than just practice testing and going, yeah, okay, I've got it. Great question.
Yeah, and the other thing is in the question, the trader already knows they shouldn't be risking real money by the fact that they're asking this question, because they're saying, look, I'm having this feeling. I know it's wrong, but I'm not reading into that feeling. I'm just deciding that the strategy works and going with it. Where by asking that question, they should be able to recognise that they have a feeling of uncertainty still, and they shouldn't really be trading real money yet. So yeah, a bit more personal work, really.
All right, so excellent. So let's move on to the next one. This question comes through from a trader. It says, I need a system that offers 3 trades per day. Okay, there's a lot there's a lot going on here, but I'd like to get your thoughts on this, Darren. So it says, I need a system that offers 3 trades per day.
Yeah, it's kind of missing the second part to the question, isn't it? Because it really needs a because, doesn't it? Why do you need 3 trades a day? Is that because if you do 1 trade a day, you make on average 20 pips and you need 60 pips? In which case the obvious answer is to just find another 2 instruments to trade. But really, it tells us a lot about people and how they think about trading, because just by taking extra trades, that doesn't necessarily make you more consistent. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the reading into this question, to me, it sounds like this trader has set a goal of X number of pips per day or something like that. That's what it sounds like to me. I agree with you. And I think that the focus here is on trading volume or taking lots of trades. And obviously the question is why? Is it because you want to build your account to 1.7 million before Valentine's Day? What's going on here? What's the thinking here? And I think it's probably something like that. We don't know. We're just reading into it here. We have no idea. But yeah, I think there's a couple of issues here. Number one is kind of like the first question. The focus here is probably on the money and the return. And I think, for a lot of traders, this is the reason why we get into trading, but it's not really what's going to be successful for you. So, one of the things that I've noticed in my trading, and I don't know if this is the same for you, Darren, but the longer I do this, the more I understand it's really about taking the time to understand, okay, yep, this is, I've seen this before. This is what I'm going to do. So, and this may be different for me than it is for you. Maybe I'm talking more about entries, and for you it's more about exits. But I think that over time, we get to a place where we feel comfortable enough understanding when we're in the groove. Like for me, it may be looking at the chart going, yeah, this chart is definitely not a chart I'm going to want to trade. I'm going to stay away from that chart. And other times I see a chart and I say, I can't believe that this opportunity is here. There's no way I can miss this opportunity. So it's and that only comes with experience. And I think this trader's focusing on the returns, focusing on getting enough pips or trades to ramp that account up as quickly as possible, and probably not looking at things like the risk of drawdown, risk of ruin, all these things that are going to basically stop you from trading. They're the real issues here. So I would suggest that if you really want to do this, first of all, like Darren said, take a look at different markets. If you feel like you're not getting enough trades, let's assume that you've done your homework, you understand your system. Well, okay, and you're not getting enough trades. Okay, well then expand your horizons. Look at multiple time frames or multiple markets. Get your hands dirty in different time frames if you haven't tested those, and basically open up your universe. That's a real easy thing to do. I mean, forex brokers, they offer, like, you can trade Bitcoin now and indices and stuff. I mean, CFDs, it's crazy. There's so much out there. There's so many markets out there. So I wouldn't really be concerned about the number of trades. I would be more concerned about why it is that you feel like you need to take 3 trades per day. That's the real issue here. And also, the other thing about this, Darren, is 3 trades per day, what that's going to add to the bottom line of your account and your equity curve as a whole, that's going to depend on things like your win rate, your reward to risk ratio, all that stuff. So, that's not even really being considered here in this question, which is what's your risk to reward? What's your win rate? How much are you risking per trade? All those real critical questions that need to be defined by your system, that's not even really being considered here. So, like, for example, if you have a 75% win rate, 3 trades a day might mean 2 winners and 1 loser. But if you've got a 33% win rate, it's 2 losers and 1 winner. And then, of course, the way the reward to risk ratio works in there will tell you, how well your account's going to build over time. So, yeah, I would definitely say the focus here is probably in the wrong spot. Instead of being on trading volume, you might want to focus on figuring out a system that you can trade on multiple markets, or figuring out a way that you can trade. Maybe you only have time to take 1 trade a day. Is there a system? Is there a way that you can tweak that system so that the risk to reward is good enough so you feel like that's okay? There are a lot of things here that I think are being missed by this question. And part of it could just be because the question's so brief and we don't know the whole background here and we're just speculating. But I think that the focus here is on being active, and it should be really on execution, and that's kind of my that's basically the issue I have with this one.
Yeah, it's like he's gone to stage 2 before he's done stage 1. I'd always suggest just playing around and finding a style of trading that suits yourself, then consider your goals and how you can make that trading system fit in with what you have to do in the day and generate the sort of return that you want. So, trial and error on a specific trading style, find something you're comfortable with, then look at your results and say, okay, well, this is like kind of my average win rate. This is what I'm averaging winning and losing. And from there, you can then make the system fit your goals rather than doing it the other way around.
Yeah. And you remind me of a good point that sometimes, a trader that I know, we were working with this trader, and he was saying, look, I need to backtest, but I don't know what to backtest. I need to find a system. And it was like everything had to be in place before he even pressed go on Forex Tester, And so the point that we made for him was, look, a lot of what you're going to come up with as a trader and your sort of take on something is going to happen when you get your hands dirty and you start looking around. And I think that's kind of, it sounded like that's kind of what you were getting at, Darren, where by getting in there and testing things out and having a look at the markets, you're going to define your beliefs, and that's going to really direct you toward the system that you need to be trading. So that's something that I would recommend for the new traders out there who you just don't know where to start. One place is just get in there, start taking trades, and figure it out. You'll get to the point where you say, okay, this doesn't make sense. This market's totally taken off without me, and I don't like that feeling, so I'm going to use a trailing stop or whatever it is. Or, whenever I see this pattern, it seems like the market does this. So you'll define what you're going to do as a trader because you've got in there, you've sort of taken some trades, and you see what you see. And we all see different things when we look at the charts, but I think that's one thing that needs to be made clear for those new traders out there who don't even have a system. Just because you don't have a system doesn't mean you can't define one by doing some testing. And it might only just be taking a seed of an idea from another system and using that in your own testing. So that's something that I just wanted to point out for those traders who don't know where to start.